And man, oh man, if there's any film to see this in theaters, if you have it near you, unfortunately, it is a limited release right now. It is this movie. Okay, so Strange Darling. So it was funny because there was someone who actually mentioned they wanted me to see this because they actually wanted to hear my thoughts, because it doesn't seem like the kind of movie that I would typically watch, right? It ultimately is, the basic premise is it's a story told in 6 chapters, but it's told out of order, and for good reason. There's parts of the story that end up, getting spoiled if you don't tell the story in this way. So I'll try to avoid spoilers if I can, because going in as blind as you can to this movie is the best way to actually enjoy it. However, as a film that has the basic premise of 2 people meet for a one-night stand and then all hell breaks loose, doesn't really come across as the kind of movie that I would either want to watch, or even would definitely not be the kind of film that I would even like as a movie. But luckily, this movie is so much more than just what that basic premise is, that I have to give it, as you can see in my initial score here, an 8 out of 10, a most excellent rating here. So jumping into my review over on Critic List, and then jumping into just my own thoughts as they unfold. Just getting home from the theater, so this was back on the 28th, so about 4 days ago at this point. Once again, for a film that was recommended by the guys over at Film Threat, and they are now 2 for 2 this week in picking phenomenal movies. Not only was this film as good as the review indicated, but is also just a downright objectively well-made film. A story told in 6 chapters, done with incredible effect out of sequence, and for good reason. Brings the audience on an emotional roller coaster ride with several twists and turns that not only keep you guessing, but also change your entire perspective on the film instantly. For the incredible storytelling alone, I would strongly encourage anyone thinking of seeing the film to stay away from any spoilers, and I still hold to that view. To really enjoy this movie, I think, to the fullest, is to not know much about the film going into it, okay? If there are certain things that bother you, or there are certain things you need to know before going to see a movie, okay, I understand that. Please try to find those things. Maybe this review will be enough for you. But I do think it's best to go in as blind as you can, at least to the basic premise of the story, because it is such a satisfying twist that happens that I think is well worth experiencing in real time as it unfolds. There's not a lot of films that do that in our world today, that are actually able to have either genuine twist or ones that you can just see coming. And again, it's not that you're like seeing it from the very beginning that it's happening, but it's that as it's unfolding, your brain is starting to have all those things, like all those, all your synapses are just firing off. You're just like, oh wait a minute. Oh no, really? It's one of those OMG moments for sure. And again, done very effectively. Not only is the screenplay insanely effective, but the acting performances from the 2 main leads are also solid and really make the film one to pay close attention to. It was really cool, especially seeing Kyle Gallner give an amazing performance after only really knowing his solid work on the show Veronica Mars back in the day. Love Veronica Mars. Wife and I just rewatched that entire show and the movie and the spin-off things that they did from that one. And we just really love it a lot. Cal Gallner is the one that plays one of the Casablancas kids. For anyone who watched that show for any length of time, he was the younger Casablancas who ended up being a serial killer. So it's very interesting to see him play a role in this movie, because I think that he is just so good at playing that kind of persona, right? Where you are just looking at his performance, you're just looking at him. He plays the character called the Demon in the movie, and I just think that he really does fit very well into the role and does a phenomenal job. It was really cool to see him on screen once again. As great as he is, however, go on here, Willa Fitzgerald, who plays the lead, gives a truly award-winning performance that deserves any and all praise. I stand by that. I think that if anyone sees this film and you are someone that used to like the Oscars, but you know that they're trash now, probably won't get a lot of attention, unfortunately, from the Oscars, because the Oscars are terrible. But they will get attention, I hope. This movie hopefully will get attention for next year's Raven Awards. So please, if you see this movie and you enjoy it to any degree, to the same degree that I do, make sure you nominate this film. I know that I am putting my nominations in for this movie because this film deserves praise. Though this film will definitely not be everyone's cup of tea, especially for those who don't like darker or more violent stories, and there's definitely violence in there, 2 things that I think anyone could appreciate about this movie are the cinematography and the score. The film is shot entirely on 35mm film. And the beauty of that format shines through. Whether it be the unique colors or contrast that only real film provides, the cinematography of the film is breathtaking. This is especially aided by a very intense score, which helps elevate the thrilling nature of the story with ease. There are several moments where I could feel the tension just from the music alone. And yes, still hold by that. The music and the score is so effective in this movie. It's why I think it has to be and should be seen in an actual theater. But also, the filming of it 35mm, right? Usually that's done for gimmicky purposes. Not so much here. I think that what it actually leads to are better performances. Because if you think about digital film, or rather, sorry, digital, filming of a film, right? Okay, take that for what it's worth. But you think about the way that digital works, okay? And you don't have to worry about spending crazy amounts of money on space in the same way, on SD card space or on hard drive space as you would to the same degree with actual physical film. And so because of those limitations, it means that the actors have to elevate their game and don't have nearly as much opportunity to make mistakes and have to do multiple takes over and over again. Obviously, that still happens, right? Even on films that are shot on actual film, but it is one that I think probably helps the actors be a bit more serious in their performances and probably elevates it that much more. And so I think that helps it, whether it be the color gambit on screen, whether it just be the fact that you're looking at them and you're seeing, right, those imperfections that always pop up in films that are actually shot on film that they did not go in and try to take out completely. It just, again, adds a whole other level to the story that I think holds up very well and will hold up for a very long time because of that very reason. All in all, this, much like Dee Dee from the night before, which I saw, and I'll be the last one that I review, is one of the best movies to come out in 2024 and really over the last few years. There are definitely some moments, especially with language, using the Lord's name, that could easily be cut out, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that. And again, I do hold to that. I think that a lot of films these days do not need to have the level of cursing that they do, and no film ever needs cursing using the Lord's name in vain in any way. And I think that is something that filmmakers and screenwriters should really start to pay attention to. But again, I think that we are definitely looking at a film that's much more than that. For the rest, the fact that they made this movie on a $4 million budget, so it's also going to be my nomination for Best Low-Budget Film of the Year, proves once again that the best movies that typically come out in a given year are the smaller budget indie films, solid flick. Yeah, so definitely agree with that. I think this film is just phenomenal, and I recommend anyone, honestly, go to see it. So if you like thrillers, if you have any interest in thrillers whatsoever, a strong recommend for this movie. Probably the best movie of the year, and will probably be at least in my top 3 of 2024, and has definitely a good chance of being in the top spot for this year. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illick and Miss Modern Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Modern Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a blessed August, and as always, God bless.